In part three of our conversation, we're going to consider Amy Alberdine's interpretation of Confucius in the article Confucius Complaints in the Analects Account of the Good Life. So, we're going to explore not only some key elements of the good life she identifies and Confucius thought, but we will also explore the complaints of Confucius she discusses in her article. First, the first element is this virtue over happiness. So, Alberding emphasized that in the Analect, Confucius sometimes expresses deep disappointment, loneliness, and dissatisfaction. These emotional experiences do not negate the value of virtue, however. For Confucius, as interpreted by Alberding, living well means living rightly, not necessarily joyfully. Living well means living rightly or living righteously or living justly, not necessarily joyfully or happily. One can live a good life even when one is unhappy. A person can live a good life even when that person is unhappy. Why? As long as one adheres to ethical principles. Okay? Endurance and moral persistence. That's the second key element in her article. So the good life is defined by the willingness to continue practicing virtue and ritual, even in the face of personal and political failure. So to you don't stop being good to people even in the case of disappointments. Confucius' complaints are viewed not as contradictions, she argues, but as evidence of the emotional cost of maintaining integrity in a flawed world. The moral endurance Albertine is talking about stays true to one's values despite hardships. It is essential to the Confucius motto of a good life, a life of meaning, not ease. So, in the Analect, according to Albertine's reading, there's a sense of vision of the good life that prioritizes meaning over pleasure. Meaning over pleasure. So, emotional difficulty is not incompatible with a life well lived because the value of life lies in the purpose and the commitment to doing what's right. The last key element of the good life and Albertine's interpretation is human struggle as a moral reality. She argues that in the Analect, it's realistic in showing that virtuous life or virtuous living often involves struggles. So one does not live virtuously, okay, without struggle, without suffering, without disappointments. Because struggle itself can be morally and existentially meaningful. Confucius' own feelings about this, you know, It's often misunderstood by scholars because it reflects the cost of ethical life in a world that is imperfect, in a world that is unjust, in a world that is full of uncertainty. So, in summary, the good life, as interpreted by Amy Albertine in her article, is not a life free from sorrow, but one that is marked by resilient commitment to moral ideals. Even when virtue brings loneliness or grief, continuing to act. So we have a responsibility, let me put it, to continue to act with integrity, humility, respect, and care for others. This is what makes life truly good. This is what makes life truly meaningful. Okay? All right, let's transition to Albertine's observations of Confucius complaints. Let's look at some examples, maybe 4 examples from the article. First of all, Confucius complaints are emotional expressions of frustration, sorrow, and moral loneliness. They appear throughout the book, throughout this book. They're not contradictions of Confucius' teachings, but